Hello out there in guitar land. So what we're going to do today is go over the song that I just posted yesterday, which is Amorphis on Rich and Poor. And I'd like to talk about it kind of in a couple of different aspects. For one, there's the recording aspect that I alluded to in the description of the video. I'm just going to kind of cover a few of the things that I think are kind of interesting, that I didn't use anything that you have to pay for in order to get the sounds that I got, which sounded a lot, in my ears at least, sounded an awful lot like what was on the album. And that is actually part two, but in the first part we're going to cover how to play both the leads and the rhythms. So as far as the leads go, I'm going to separate that into two. There's the melody track that kind of goes on with the majority of the song, and then there's the actual lead track itself. I'm only going to use one sound for any of this, but you know, just for the sake of argument, there are more that can be had. So for this, we're tuned to D. So there's your D for you right there. You know, have fun with that. So let's start it off by learning the thing that you can actually, in fact, play the melody part on an E standard tuned guitar, and that's what I learned it on in the first place. But listening to the rhythms, we're gonna have to tune to D for that. I mean, we could fake it, you know. We could do that, playing it up like so, and it kind of works, but it's not the same. Besides, when you watch them play it live, they're definitely tuned to D. Okay, so let's start with the melody. The melody of this thing goes like so. So to do that, a couple of things worth note. Even though we're tuned to D, I'm still going to call these notes as if they're not tuned to D. So instead of saying like A, or because see, I'm going at it right there. To the standard tuned guitar purists like myself, at least like I usually am, this would just be an A note because it's an A string, it's the 12th fret. Well, it's a G now. So instead of adding to the confusion of, you know, the 12th note is now G, this 14 is now a G on the G string. No, it is. But I'm just going to call them what you would normally call them if they were tuned to standard pitch, or if the guitar was tuned to standard pitch. So this is going to be an A, that's going to be a D, that's going to be an A, and that's going to be an F, even though, again, it's like a D sharp at this current tuning. So just understand that when I say A, I mean A when you're tuned to D standard on the A string, and it's not a real A, it's actually a D or a G, but for our purposes, I think you get the idea. So this is outlining a D minor chord, but you skip up from the root, 12th fret D string, to the 5th, so the A, down to the F, that's an F. Go to the 2nd, which is on the 14th fret and on the D string. Now there's a couple of different ways of playing that. To my ears, it sounds like a hammer-on. Could be a slide, but I didn't see him playing a slide. And I also didn't really see him bend, but it kind of sounds like a bend. And then you're going to D flat there, or C sharp if you really want to, you know, push the envelope. Right like that. Back to the root, so that's the 11th fret, by the way. So before I continue, this is a little bit of a tongue twister for your fingers, or a finger twister. So that, we're sticking with the, what is it, 15, 14, 12 thing there. And that's a hammer on, pull off, pull off. 15 on the A string, so that's a C, well in this case, you know, it's a B flat, but we're going to call it a C. A to B flat right there. So once again, all together. Okay. The G on the bottom. So we're going to outline a G minor chord. Jump up from the 5th to the 6th there, which would be right. So cute as it is. Now, you don't have to do the slide. I just think he slides because it sounds like he slides it up there. Could be the first finger. Could just be. But so what we're going to do there is. That's so 13, 15, 12, and then those are on adjacent strings. A string, E string, D string. So a little string skippy. And that's back down to 11, 11 to 12, 11, 12 on the A string there. 14. So all together, slowly. If you don't want to slide. Hi, Hopper. He's crazy kitty. All right. And you repeat that a lot. After that, there's the sort of kind of chorus. Now, a word about that. I did a video not too long ago about the importance of vibrato, and the importance of good vibrato. Not just vibrato in general, but good vibrato. When you stop a note and hold on to it, you don't want to hear the amateurish, shaky vibrato. Well, in this case, you do, because we're mimicking S's or E's. We're mimicking the vibrato that you're hearing on there, which is kind of amateurish. It's this kind of very quick and very narrow shake of a note. So it is important, as important as it is to be able to really. It doesn't sound right here because that's not what the music has in it already. So if you were writing it and doing it, I would recommend a different vibrato than the spastic, narrow shaking there. I do have to admit it does fit here, but so the takeaway here isn't necessarily, hey, always play good vibrato, but play the vibrato of the part it is that you're playing. So if you need to play like somebody else, that you can play like that somebody else. So in this case, we're playing like, what Amorphis already has there. So we're trying to cop that vibrato and make it correct to the piece. So, oh my God, cat's gone crazy. So in this case, the notes would be D, and then we're going to flip from the 5th to the 4th to the 5th again. So root 5, 4, 5. So we're back into D minor territory. We're going to base most everything off of this D note here. One, 5, 4, 5, root, bend. Pretty much a half step bend, or yeah. Hi, kitty. Pretty much a half step bend. As if you're bending up, or as if you're shifting up, but we're not. We're bending. Down to 12. Then 15, 14, 15. Or, what is that? F, E, F, D. Slightly different now. Back to D again. 4th up to G. You can also do it this way, but it's not accurate, so. It's not the same. And I think he only uses 3 fingers here too, so if you want to. You know, if you want to play it exactly like Issa does, you can play it like that, and it'll be correct. But I like the 1 finger per fret approach when possible. It keeps me fresh and, you know, keeps your pinky moving. It's good for you. You should do it. Anyway, so after that, he goes back to the for a little bit, and then we come to a part that, because both guitarists play this at least once, I'm not really going to cover it too much in the rhythm portion of this. I'm going to cover it right here, right now, which is B flat for the regularly tuned people, or for the detuned people that are used to regular tuning. Otherwise, of course, this would be G sharp, or E or A flat for that matter. This is the easiest part of the song. This ranks as a 1 in level of difficulty. So we're essentially going power chord, or, you know, root 5, and you can add a little to that if you want. 6th fret, 5th fret, and this is the low E string. 6th fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret. And the only thing you have to pay attention to is the way they play the rhythm. So. And that's it. And you're playing that the whole way through. Till the last part. So when they go to B here, so you literally skip the note here. You're not playing that at all. Dun, da, 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 da. You're skipping a beat, landing here. So remember the shape here? Yeah. This is the same shape for all the notes you're going to play, but it's going to be from the 14th fret of the A string. You're playing off the B, which is really A, I know, but still. You could almost kind of start a X-Files theme thing here, but to the 3rd, the minor 3rd in this case. And yes, you do need to put that little slide. And of course you can play it here. So let's kind of cover that here. This you surely got by now. This is 14 to the next string, and the D string is 16, 14, 16 to 17, so 14, 17, 16, 17, up a string, and 14 again, and back down. Just work on both of those parts separate, so if you want. Now, it's kind of a gallopy thing, and it's a bit syncopated. So for me, the way I approach it is I approach that mostly down picking, unless, you know, alternate picking is called for, but to start each little phrase with the downstroke. So down, up, down, up, down. It could be down, up, doesn't matter, down, down. But I'll start this with a down, 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 or down, up, down. And watch my cat run around a bit. But that's kind of how I got that part fluid. Down, 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 up, down, down, up, down. So if you want to, really just practice the motions. Now this part, slide up to 16, where you were, where we were going first, and then hit the 14 and just hang out there. Same thing. All in all. And then you play that for a while, and then you're kind of back to the and that's pretty much it. Then we go back to the... Now, in this case, though, we're now playing the lead. So the lead is secondary. I think it's just there to kind of add a little flavor to that part. But it's not so much like a constructed, memorable, guitar solo, but it's there. It definitely adds flavor. If you recall anything from Tales from the Thousand Lakes, for instance, they do some lead work in there, especially with keyboards, that are some of the most memorable things of all time. Like the keyboard solo to Black Winter Day is like the best keyboard solo of all time. They do a kind of a solo in there, the Castaway, with like a quarter, and it's just, it's all over the place, but it's memorable and it's great. This is underlying. This is subtext. This is hanging out just to kind of add flavor. So it's garlic. It's a little spice, but it's not meant to be like the foreground, unless you're eating garlic chicken, of course. But even then, you still have the chicken. That's the base. So what a lot of the stuff that he's doing is really based around a couple of shapes. So this would be D minor pentatonic. So all your 10s, 13, 12, 12, 12, 13, 13. So that's it. And then connected. The other shapes, so that would be like what he starts it off with. What does he start it off with? Something like that. It's just your standard blues licks. So there is an E note in a lot of it, just kind of hanging out there. And he does a lot of, arpeggiated shapes in the key of C major, which it is relative to D minor. That vibrato again. And you can get one of those weakly shaky ones by kind of when you're doing your vibrato down and back to home, you go up a little too. It's a bit of a warbly effect. I can't express it enough how the Yngwie vibrato does not work here. So it just doesn't. It isn't adding anything to it. If it was written that way, that'd be a different story. But and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go through, in this case, and detail every single lick because I don't know them. I know roughly what he's playing because, like I said, it's kind of like a subtext. It's just meant to add a little flavor. And I think it was improvised. I really don't think he did the whole thing as like, I'm playing this at exactly this point. But it's meant to kind of bolster the vocals. So you'll hear the vocal, and then you'll hear a phrase. Then you'll hear the vocal again, then you'll hear a phrase. But it does end... And I played it like, And then you're back to the... Play that for a couple of bars. And then you modulate to G. So it's played on the 10th fret now, but it's exactly the same pattern. After that, once again, and then you end it on a D. So that's 14, or excuse me, 12, 12, and 14 there. Which is the most convenient place to end it right there. Now you could shift down. No problem. But I think it adds texture when your rhythm guy ends it here or here and you're playing it there. So, works fine. Okay, that's the lead. Now let's talk rhythm. So, I'm just going to play it out straight. And it can be played in a couple of different ways. Just notice you are hitting. There's a little bit of a stop, but it's a percussive stop. So. Five. This is basically a D, so it's a 5th fret on the A string. Power, and these are all power chords. The whole thing is power chords. There isn't not a power chord to be played here. I mean, you're not going to have any inversions. None of that. It's all. So 5, drop down a string, 5, 6, 1. So, and that's where you're very actively picking this. After that, you're only picking it one time. So 3, 6, 5, next string up, 4, and that'll give us kind of a harmonic minor flavor. You really want to take that home, right? So, the other way I've seen him do it, excuse me, is to pull it up to 9. 9 and 4, same chords. That's it. So, the next part is very cliche. I have to say it, it's true, because it by itself is a very kind of, it's a rhythm, you know, it isn't anything flashy, it doesn't draw attention to itself, it's just there to kind of be rhythmic and hold an extra bit of loft to the melody. So, it's nothing fancy, it's literally just laying the foundation for what's going over the top of it, both vocally and melodically. And that's this. Well, I'll tell you how it goes. It's 5, so we're still in D, 5 to 8, and that would be, if you're counting here, it's D and F, but, you know, in reality, it's C and E flat for the standard tune folk. Down a string, G, A. Repeat that, starting on the 2. So we're out of key now. Instead of normally in D minor, it would be here, but it isn't. 2, 3, 4. You can hold the shape if you want to, but don't let those notes sound. And then he's back to the. But fast, because the rhythm. Okay, so the second part to that, which I've already covered in the lead portion, is after the. Or you're still going to go back down here. After that, the build-up, We're on B here. And that's B. Let him play the phrase. Quiet. G. Quiet. D. So. And all I'm doing there is I'm releasing a little bit and quieting everything up. You can see what I'm doing with my picking hand here. Maybe. Just making it quiet. That's all. Muting everything. Because nothing's played there. When you shift between the chords, it's like for a beat. That's it. Little pick slide. Play the same thing here. One octave lower. So that one octave lower, the only frets you'll be covering, 7, 9, 10, and on the next string, 7 again. Oh yeah, and 9. That's it. So, now you could play it this way, which I didn't really show you before. Which does a couple of things. It helps you practice your position shifting. Shifting up with your pinky, down with your index. But I still pretty much pick it the same way. See? The slides remain the same as up there. It's just everything is the same, but an octave lower. All right. After that, back to the... From there, back again, where the lead is played over the top. And over and over and over again. Well, we lead back to the... There's a stop right beforehand. Back to that again. Play that through, and it modulates to G, just like it does up here. So... So G, which is really F, I know. And at the end of it, and that's it. So the way I end it on the recording is, and then I put my hands out like that, and wish everybody a very quiet Happy New Year. Well, that's it. I guess right now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to speak about, now that you know how to play it, I'm going to speak about how I got the tones on it. If you're interested, please continue watching. If not, you can stop now. And I chose this guitar, not because of the equipment necessarily in it, but because I haven't played it in a while, and because also I thought of any of the guitars that I've got, if I'm going to tune one to D, this is going to be it. No big deal, but you know, you have to work with what you have. This is not a Les Paul. It's a neck-through body. It's an ash body for that matter. We have compound 5-piece neck with like Purple Heart and roasted maple and ebony. It's not a Les Paul. It's similar to a Les Paul in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it's really not. This is a 25.5-inch scale versus a Les Paul's 24 3/4 inch scale, which is really 24 5/8. So what's the difference there? Strings on a 24 5/8 scale are going to sound a little less snappy, a little more muddy. They're going to sound a little more, and I don't mean muddy necessarily badly. I just mean muddy as in like it's going to be a little darker sounding. It's going to be a little floppier sounding. So if you're on a shorter scale, perhaps some heavier strings. These are 9.5 to 46, which is the lower end of a standard 10 gauge. It works for me. It's fine for what I'm doing. But Les Pauls typically don't have a Floyd, and so they have a different nut material. They have, it's different. So how am I going to make this sound a little more like a Les Paul? So I had to go into it thinking that way. For one, I used a pick that's got a lot of, a little bit of meat to it. It's the black ice, and yes, I do choose my picks per song to try to get the closest approximation to what the sound is out. So in this case, there's not a lot of chirp to it. If I would have chosen a pick like a Pick Boy Metacarbonate or maybe a Wiegand or something like that, it's going to have a lot more chirp, the thicker it is too. So a 1.1 and this particular material is very kind of, it's good to glide over the strings. It doesn't have an awful lot of chirpiness to it, and neither does their sound. So I wanted to, like I said, mold it to what they've got. So after that, it's all in a matter of approach. It's how hard do you whack the string, and in the case of this, I'm not whacking it very hard. I'm actually, kind of letting it kind of glide through. It's a lot of wrist. Now, in my normal playing, technique, it would be much thwackier and less, it'd be more staccato and less legato. And that's not what they sound like. This is not. We're not playing weird Kirk stuff. We're playing Amorphis stuff. So rein it in. If you have to, not rein it in and do the opposite of that, rein it out. Go for it. But, try to make your picking sounds that you're making when you're picking, match what they're doing. That's kind of a key to it. All right. That's kind of it for the guitar stuffs. But if you want to stick around for the DAW stuff, now is the time. Here it is. So we're here in my copy of Reaper. You can see down below on the 4th track, you've got On Rich and Poor. And above, you have 2 tracks. I know that you can count. There's 3, but there's really only 2. I played a rhythm track, and I played the melody track. And when the lead happened, I played the lead too. Best as I could at the time. All I did was yank that out of track 2 and put that on a 3rd track to add a few effects. And we'll go through that in a second. So what we're looking at in the effects for each, completely free again, and start off with the tuner, NoiseKatana, and I'm going to go through these like this so you get an idea of what my settings were. And because of the pickup and the strings I was using and the pick that I was using, your results may vary, so feel free to adjust frequencies or noise level or whatever you have to adjust to try to get a sound that's similar to what you're looking for. So I've been playing lately with using different like mic pre-modeling softwares. It adds a little bit more of a realistic feel and hairiness to the signal. It just replicates like what I get in my living room tube amp. A little bit better, or amps that I've used in the past for louder applications. Anyway, this is just set like so. This is just the rhythm track. You get this guy here, which is kind of a mic pre type of deal as well. Then this nice free amp, which sounds pretty great. Gotta say, the NickCrowLab's 7170 it's a very, very ballsy, thrusting kind of amp. It's good. Right after that, not using any kind of like sonic maximizer or exciter plug-in, but I do want to crisp things up and tighten things up a bit. So I've got this EQ running in post. Works for me. And following that EQ, I have an actual like graphic EQ, and this is the curve that I found works best for me with the amp setups that I've got going on here. But there's nothing if there isn't a cab. So for this, a long time ago, there was a 2022 V30 giveaway. If you haven't found them, or if you don't have them, I don't think they're giving them away now, but if you already had them, great. If not, well, you're going to have to work with what you've got or find something else that's equivalent. Up top here, you'll notice that these guys are off. It's on, off. I'm just using the pull-in cabinet here. You don't have to use this. There are other cabinet simulators that are just fine. Ignite has some, really good ones. The Libra, I still have yet to try that, but it looks very interesting and similar to this, where you can combine up to like 8 cabinets or 8 speakers. And the other one that they have, though, for free works just fine as well. This pull-in, though, allows you to kind of blend things together, whereas the other one that I was referencing only allows for 2. So in this case, I'm kind of using these two as a lower volumed filter for this, and this is going to be the same on both the rhythm and the lead tracks. Well, lead and melody tracks as well. So but here, so besides the giveaway, you've got the Red Giant IR pack, and they're both running Red Giant 6. And like I said, I'm using this as kind of a filter for these two. These are very brazen and lively and very, very good. They're like the best IRs I've got for free. I mean, they're really, really good. Again, I did not use the top ones. This is basically my living room setup. I've got a Governor and a Man-O-War and my 212 out there, and together they sound really, really good. The IRs do not come close to sounding like them. They just don't. If you get the Royer and the 57 combined, Royer 57 they have mic'd doesn't really work for me. The Royer and 57, if you do them separately, do kind of sound like the Governor in reality, but it still doesn't really capture it. So I only use these for particular applications, special applications, to really kind of add a bit of mid. Again, it's not like I'm disappointed. It still has a use, but it certainly doesn't sound like the real thing. Anyway, going straight through, though, these guys did a very bang-up job doing the IR stuffs for this. Anyway, so after that, there's the Deelay, and there's my settings for that. It's essentially just preset 8 tape echo, and I turned down the wet a little bit. That's it, because it's a rhythm track, and all I wanted to do was thicken it up a tiny bit. And I didn't want to do that in a mix environment, so it's not here, and it's not side chained to something else where the guitars are going to get a specific delay or something like that. I didn't want to do it that way because I'm playing over a track. If I was mixing a track together, I would probably do it differently, but this is, how I'm going to kind of come to the right sound this way. Going on with this, let's go to the lead track or the melody track and see the differences. All right, everything else is exactly the same, all the way up to here. A little bit of a difference, but I used the pull-in LeXtac, which really has a very kind of mellow, rounded sound. And I thought that since I'm trying to replicate the sound of a Les Paul through some Marshalls, that I would do my best to kind of facilitate that. The rhythm track has a much more metal sound. This is not at all, a metal sound. It's brittle and it's crunchy, and it's smooth at the same time. It's got a different kind of. It's not a ragged edge, hit you in the face kind of a sound. Still following it up though with a MERICA, and notice that this is on the blue channel, not the red channel. It's not on the hottest gain setting. It is set to brighter and all that. But again, your results may vary. Twiddle where you need to. This isn't really changed very much. This EQ curve, though, you'll notice is a pretty big difference. It's much more pronounced here. There's no V curve. It's not trying to hit you in the face. Cabinets are the same. And the delay is the same. Exactly the same. Now we go to the lead track. The only real difference here is I've included Infected Mushrooms wider down below. Exactly the same on the delay. EQ curve is a little less pronounced than the melody track.
not by much. And I've added, right here underneath MERICA, is the Azurite chorus. And that's just set to the keys Leslie sound, because he has something like that going on. You can hear it. It's definitely kind of a nice warbly Leslie rotary keyboard kind of an effect going there. And this recreates it beautifully. But it just doesn't sound right. Well, it sounds pretty dang accurate, but it doesn't sound right unless you add this to it, which adds a kind of a tiny bit of a chorusing or widening effect, but it does it in a way that's, it increases the stereo field. It's like a little bit of a chorus happening, and it just works. So aside from that, everything else is identical. And there you have it.
Well, Ladles and Jelly Spoons, I really do appreciate you stopping by and seeing it out the whole way. If you did and you're seeing this message, drop a like and a comment or whatever you'd like. If you have any questions, please, by all means, I'll be happy to take them. And I'm not apologizing, but I am aware that this was a little scattershot today, maybe because I'm hungry. I don't know. I guess we'll see. You won't. Have yourselves a great day. Bye.